أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله الذي أنزل على عبده الكتاب ولم يجعل له عوجا قيما لينذر بأسا شديدا من لدنه ويبشر المؤمنين الذين يعملون الصالحات أن لهم أجرا حسنا ماكثين فيه أبدا وينذر الذين قالوا اتخذ الله ولدا ما لهم به من علم ولا لآبائهم كبرت كلمة تخرج من أفواههم إن يقولون إلا كذبا فلعلك باخع نفسك على آثارهم إن لم يؤمنوا بهذا الحديث أسفا إنا جعلنا ما على الأرض زينة لها لنبلوهم أيهم أحسن عملا وإنا لجاعلون ما عليها سعيدا جرزا أم حسبت أن أصحاب الكهف والرقيم كانوا من آياتنا عجبا إذا والفتية إلى الكهف فقالوا ربنا آتنا من لدنك رحمة وهيئ لنا من أمرنا رشدا. صدق الله.
All right. So about a dozen or so years ago, I was in Chicago, and a friend of mine, good friend of mine, introduced me to Sound Vision, an organization that is based and that was founded in Chicago by our guest speaker today, Imam Malik Mujahid. Sound Vision was founded on the idea of using media to promote Muslim ideas and Muslim thoughts and Muslim cultures. I participated in a few of their programs, and before long I realized that Sound Vision did not just mean sound and vision. Sound Vision meant the sound vision of Brother Abdul Malik Mujahid. He was a visionary, and he's still a visionary. He was a visionary then. The kids can go in the front rooms, inshallah. So Brother Abdul Malik Mujahid was a visionary then, and he's a visionary now. Throughout the past maybe 2 or 3 decades, he'll give us some more details on how long he's been doing this work. His thoughts and the thoughts and the programs that he brought to the Muslim community has revolutionized our community, revolutionized the thinking of the Muslim community in the United States. Whether it is in terms of media that he's used, or in terms of answers and processes and way of thought, he has revolutionized our thinking. So we're all very happy, we're all very proud to have Imam Abdul Malik Mujahid from Chicago with us tonight. I'll give you the first one of this bit. You can use this or you can use this.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Alhamdulillah alladhi kafa wa salatu wa salamu ala sayyidina Muhammad al-Mustafa wa ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wahdahu la sharika lah wa ashhadu anna Muhammadan abduhu wa rasuluh amma ba'd fa'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim bismillahir rahmanir rahim ya ayyuhalladhina amanu ittaqullah wal tanzur nafsum ma qaddamat lighadin wattaqullah إن الله خبير بما تعملون صدق الله العلي العظيم وصدقه النبي الكريم ونحن على ذلك من الشاهدين والشاكرين والحمد لله رب العالمين. How are you? Good to see all of you present here. How many of you there in Jummah khutbah when I gave khutbah today? Okay, so most of the brothers, few of the sisters. The presentation today, I spent several hours preparing it. But I have been working on Macintosh, which is has been my habit since very young days. And challenges is that I'm in a PC world here. So they didn't have a connector available, so they are trying to fix my presentation when they transferred from Macintosh to PC. Its fonts and all that, so it is not quite visible. So by the time they bring in, I will take inshallah 5 minutes, whatever their shape is, we'll start with the PowerPoint. But the ayah of the Quran I recited is part of my presentation. I say, Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu, O believers, wal tanzur nafsu, Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu taqullah, O believers, adopt taqwa. Be mindful of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and each one of you must consider what are you doing for the coming day. Coming day, wattaqullah, and be fearful of Allah. Inna Allah khabirun bima ta'malun. Indeed, Allah is fully aware of each and everything which we do. So, between a statement of addressing believers and message of adopt taqwa twice, enveloped in there is a message, wal tanzur nafsum ma qaddamat lighad, that each one of you must think, must wonder upon, must ponder, what are you doing for tomorrow? So Allah wants us to be thoughtful and futuristic, and that's what my presentation is about. So there will be 3 elements of that presentation. One is 10 things which you yourself or your masjid can do. Then it will have some discussion about how Islamophobia is impacting the community. And the third thing I will share with you, that while individual challenges you're working on, what Sound Vision is thinking of doing. So one of the first things, it seems like there is something up because, okay. Well, thank you so much. So how many Microsoft people take to fix a Macintosh? 5. Sister was counting 5. Okay. So now the challenge is I have to look at it as I talk. So should I take this mic in my hand? Okay. All right, so 10 strategies. First strategy I would say is something which Islamophobes don't want you to adopt. That is the challenge Muslims are facing. It has a name. There is a serious effort on it. I work with think tanks, and at one of the think tanks, after working 2 years with them, finally, I and several other professors, we have to threaten them that we will resign from this task force unless you name it. How are you going to deal with something which doesn't have a name? You will spend your life talking about it without having a name. So what we are facing is called Islamophobia. And the way we talk based on psychological theory of is that you equate with something which people already know, like racism and anti-Semitism. Strategy well, within that first strategy, it is important to realize, I think I need to move away from this place, is that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given 8 characteristics. I have chosen just 5 here. 5 characteristics of successful people in the Quran. And people normally know, relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, practicing salat, conduct their affairs with mutual consultation and give charity. But what people don't pay much attention to is the last aspect, and those who defend themselves when oppression afflicts them. Through, of course, due process of law. But when you are wrong, standing up and speaking about it is a critical factor. Strategy number 2 is developing a plan. I talked about it in the khutbah also. So if you have not developed your plan for 2016, I recommend this weekend you sit down with the family and develop one. And this is the ayah of the Quran I recited, that, O believers, adopt taqwa, and each one of you, nafsun, each one of you, must consider what are you doing for tomorrow, what are you doing for the future, and adopt taqwa. Indeed, Allah is fully aware of each and everything which you do. So developing a personal plan and model of personal plan I will share with you, but consider thinking as an ibadah. You saw Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam will be in sajda, and Aisha radiallahu ta'ala anha says sometime he will be in sajda so long, she thought that he probably passed away. So she moved his toe only to realize he's well and alive. And sometimes he says sajda will be as long as Surah Baqarah, and you know how Surah Baqarah is. You don't want in one Tarawih set whole Surah Baqarah. What was he doing? He was not just doing tasbih. Probably yes, but it's a thinking process. Sajda is an ibadah. And innal abda yunaji rabbah, a servants talk to her Lord in sajda. So it's a communication and a thinking process. Normally Muslims say Allah gave us Quran and Sunnah, and they put a big period after that. While Quran and Sunnah will encourage you to think. Allah gave us Quran and Sunnah and our brains. So once I gave a khutbah about that, and when I came out, one brother said, where does Allah says in the Quran that Allah gave you brain? Brother, you just asked me a question. Where did you come up with this question? Where does this question exist in Quran and Sunnah? You came up, right? So it means you are using it. That's Allah's blessing. But when Allah say Atiullah wa Atiur Rasulah, follow Allah, follow Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam, wa ulil amri minkum, what do you need ulil amr when Quran and Sunnah is already there? Why you need amruhum shura bainahum, that you do consultation among yourself if you don't need your brains? So don't deposit your brains with your shoes when you come to masjid. Allah gave us Quran, Sunnah and our brains. So thinking process is important, and I recommend if you haven't developed your plan for this year, Rabbana atina fid dunya, one sheet best of this world, another sheet best of everlasting life, wal akhirati hasana, another one waqina adhaban nar. So second strategy was develop a personal plan based on the challenges Muslim Ummah is facing. Strategy number 3, empower the community through personal civic engagement. Coalition building was a major strategy of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Networking, electoral participation. A lot of confusion about electoral participation. Some people always say, oh, no, we are not for profit, we cannot participate in politics. Utter nonsense. I am trained by 2 different institutions in electoral politics about what not-for-profit mosques and churches can do and cannot do. Could you believe that 90% of everything done in politics can be done by masjid and churches? The result is that a CNN report said that in the history of IRS, only one church has ever lost their not-for-profit status because of politics. And that was also funny reason. The judge says, I may have forgiven you, but they put a big advertisement against President Clinton when he was running for the second time, and at the bottom they say, please also donate your tax deductible donation to our church. So judge says, if you haven't done that stupid thing, I might have let you go also. So people are scaremongering is a whole lot. We all know Dr. King. That was his, 5 days ago was his birthday. Dr. King, remember, was an imam of that church. Pastor, they call them, right? He was a church person. There will be no civil rights movement if the churches were not out there. There will be no liberation from the slavery if all the churches of America was not involved in liberating slaves and fighting against that. So there is a whole lot of room for participation, and this lady, 15-hour minimum wage lady, I don't know any councillor of Seattle, but I knew her. She launched a whole campaign in the whole country where people are trying to have higher minimum wages. As income of poor people is going down, income of high bracket is keep rising. This was a major move. Who is this? Not even born in this country, but she has this passion, and she did that. She started a whole movement. So one individual, right? There is no, I mean, she's a Hindu heritage. There is no big organizations behind us. One individual determined to make a difference. And that's where it is important as a strategy to fight Islamophobia for Muslims to empower themselves and the community through civic engagement. Strategy number 4, again, the successful people. In the ayah of the Quran, Surah Ash-Shura, وَالَّذِينَ اسْتَجَابُوا لِرَبِّهِمْ وَأَقَامُوا الصَّلَاةَ وَأَمْرُهُمْ شُورَى بَيْنَهُمْ. Successful people are those who run their affairs in consultation with each other, in shura. And shura is not just for masjid or the government. Shura is the way you run your life. Somebody told me in New York that this particular person, she's a big fan of yours. I say, I have no idea who she is. It turned out she's daughter of a sitting Supreme Court justice. So finally I end up meeting with her, and it turned out she read my article, Shura in the Family, and she's a Christian, but she runs her family on that model. Say we Christians don't have that model, so I follow the Muslim model. And that's how she connects, and she reads Sound Vision material and follows them. Actually, just yesterday, I was talking to her to encourage her to do something for water crisis in Flint, Michigan, which, mashallah, Muslims are way ahead in fighting that crisis in Flint, Michigan. And now we're getting the national level, all different groups, Latinos and blacks and churches and synagogues to get involved. So running Shura family is strengthening Muslim family by running it on the Shura model. If you don't know how to do that, Google my article, Shura in the Family, and put my name in it. You will find, inshallah, or Sound Vision, and you will be able to see that. Strategy number 5, invest in youth and students. It's a very, I mean, each of these points, I have an independent PowerPoint which Sound Vision team goes around presenting. Brother Heather, would you mind? That food was so good that I need water now. I ate quite a bit. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. So, why youth? You know, majority of Muslims, a majority of America have low opinion of Muslim at this moment. Only 27% of America has positive opinion. That's a 2-year-old figure. Since then, no data has been released. It might be even lower than that. That may be the reason they're not issuing it. But one of the things which I like you to note is when the young people were asked, 18 to 29-year-old, what do you think about Islam and Muslim? Majority of them have positive opinion of Islam and Muslim. Double the regular population. So that's a strategic asset. And all the movement in this country, whether it's a civil rights movement or anti-war movement, anti-apartheid movement, all rely on campuses. So it is important for you individually to listen to your children, understand them. More you listen to them, more they will listen to you. Listening to them is not, don't do that, don't open the refrigerator, don't drink from the bottle, milk and all of those things, you know, which parents do. I'm a parent too. I know what it is. But it's listening and understanding, learning from them. I write very often, hundreds of articles. You know, first people who I give my article to read are my children. I learn language and culture from them. So they become partners in this. So whatever your passion is, try to learn through them, and then see how they could be encouraged to become friends and partners with other children in a school. I recommend your masjid to consider in board adopting a campus, seeing what their plans are, how they can engage other. Man, your children have energy. I'm trying to compete with them, but mashallah. So, no, don't worry. There's nothing you can do about it. So maybe I need to put headphone as I'm talking, so at least I'm not getting distracted. So so I would say that investing in MSA, getting MSA connected with other student organization, that's a strategic thing to think about. There is a whole lot need to be done in this particular area. Strategy number 6, connect with your neighbor. Because all surveys say that people who know a Muslim have better opinion of Islam and Muslim. Strategy number 7, talk to media. Media are human beings, you know, people who are working there, it's their job. And if you talk to them, they may or may not understand at the immediate level, but gradually they will learn and they will be able to understand your perspective. And I have done it many, many times. Anytime you do, actually first press conference I ever did in my life, in America that is, was in Seattle. After the Oklahoma bombing, many people, Muslim, were hiding and all that because they were thinking, accusing that Muslim might have done it. So I was visiting this area, so I ended up doing a press conference at the airport. And within that day, by the evening, I did press conference I think by noon or so. By the evening, all attitude of Seattle media changed before the attitude of the rest of the America changed. So communicating is important. Individual level and collective level. Jazakallah khair. A brother thought I really had good dinner, so he brought a whole jug for me. Jazakallah khair. Now this is a big field. You can invite an expert to talk, but I would say invite a journalist who might have done reports here. Just invite them, talk to your community, let them see. So if individual Muslim are connected with neighbors and neighbors' opinion improves, why not doing the same thing with journalists? Invite them, visit them, have meeting with the editorial board organizationally, but individual level write to them and try to engage. One journalist, she's an award-winning journalist in this country. She got fired from a job. And so I was pretty, sad. She got fired, so I took her out for lunch and she told me, Malik, if you can get your community to do one thing, it will be great help to all the journalists who's trying to write in a balanced way. So what is it? That each time you see something right, good or bad, if it is bad, you inform them it is bad. If it is good, you appreciate it is good. Because after all, these are businesses. I have my boss. When I write in support of Muslim and any idea or Palestine or anything like that, I get hundreds of negative and there is hardly anything positive. So once my boss will say no problem, second time he will say no problem, third time he will consider this lady is a headache. She gets me so much in negative email. So just write. Once a senator sent her staff to my office, and I thought something very serious. Why a senator, US senator, a senior senator, sent his staff. He said, we just came here to tell you that all the churches and synagogues, they write to us all the time. But there are so many masjids, they never ever write to us about anything. So media, human being. And when people who have negative opinion of Islam and Muslim, they were asked, why do you have negative opinion? Majority of them says, because of media. Actually now there are 3-4 cases in which people attacked a masjid, and when judge was asking them why did they attack, they say, well, these people are like that. I was watching Fox and I had a little bit too much to drink and then I attacked it. So you see a direct connection. So connecting at a personal level with the media and developing a part of the plan is important. Strategy number 7 is debunk ISIS and Islamophobia. Islamophobia, Islamophobes and ISIS are partners. They work with each other, they say the same thing, same type of distortion of the Quran, and here they are selling books and talking about it. There they're practicing the same thing, which prove that whatever they are saying is true. Muslims have been condemning terrorism quite a bit. Actually, condemning terrorism has become the sixth pillar of Islam. Except that nobody is listening. Neither terrorists are listening, nor our neighbors are recognizing. They say, how come you don't condemn terrorism? So I did that yesterday and this morning also. I said, I didn't say it anywhere. Because, it has no news. So I think by going after ISIS straight is going to help. These brochures Sound Vision has produced. And I think I have provided a set to your masjid leadership. And all these brochures, they are developed for our neighbors of other faith. But they are equally important for our children to have. Because even children are confused about a whole lot and they are trying to distance themselves. Strategy number 9 is reset your priorities, personal as well as organizational. What do I mean by that? Is this. Masjid and charity are important. But your survival is at stake. For your survival, it is important to deal with the perception of Muslim and civil right and political engagement. So if you volunteer for 10 hours, I'd like you to think about this pie chart. If you contribute at $100, I'd like you to consider about that chart at a personal level and then at the organizational level. And as I'm going to enter into the second phase of the presentation, you will realize why it is so critical. Strategy number 10, communication skills are winning skills. As I mentioned in the khutbah today, I sit on multiple boards, Muslim and non-Muslim. And in last, from November until now, fortunately or unfortunately, I have to be involved in many, many personnel decisions. And the main key factor in those is that who is better communicator, better writer, better speaker, a person who can handle a situation, a person who is a good listener, a person who can, so this is a critical skill. So whether it's a job, whether it's Islam or your family, communication skills are winning a skill. Now there are 60,000 Muslim physicians, but there is one Dr. Oz. What's the difference between this cardiologist and another cardiologist? He's a good communicator. Well, also it helps to be Oprah's friend. President Reagan, this guy has C grades in school. Barbara Waters on 2020 interviewed him and asked President Reagan, what grades did you have in school? Oh man, it was so difficult for him. He moved this way 2-3 times before he answered C grades. How a person with C grades became the president of this country? Communication skills. Look at his face. President Obama, not only is a Muslim, but he is a black from Kenya, born in Kenya. Right? How did he become president? His pastor in Chicago is in my neighborhood. He's a fiery, fierce speaker. He trashes America every day. So his speeches came out that Obama used to go to his church. And it was almost impossible to handle. What did he do? He sat down in Philadelphia for 2-3 days and wrote a marvelous speech. Talking about him is like talking about your uncle who has things to say. So what do you want me to say? And he was able to tell America about race relation, was able to overcome that he is not born in USA, was able to overcome that he is a Muslim and a Hussein. He was able to overcome that his pastor is anti-America. How did he do that? Communication skills. Now there are many Muslim teachers, but this guy who is all smile, he got 40 million students. What this Khan, Salman Khan has, which other Khans don't? Communication skills. So communication skills, I took longer time. So my request to you going back is that when you develop your personal plan, think of these 10 strategies and adopt them. And I have given folder to your leadership. It has 5 sheets. One sheet what you can do yourself, one sheet what masjid need to do, one sheet what your interfaith partners need to do, and what MSA need to do. In reference to dealing with Islamophobia, it is available, and if they like, they can photocopy and distribute that. Now I'm going to switch to the second portion of presentation. Are you getting bored already? You need water? You can drink or put something on head. Very good water, mashallah. And when you think of in America, many cities but Flint, what tragedy they are going through, you know. For a year, they were forced to drink water which has so much lead that according to EPA definition, it considered toxic waste. According to EPA definition, it's a toxic waste, and they were forced to drink that. And still, what is their solution? Instead of changing all the pipes, because they had good water, to save money, how much money? $100 a day. That's all it would have costed the city. But they didn't care because these are poor people. And now it's a nightmare situation. They will have to spend about $1.5 billion to change pipes. So their solution, they're providing water bottle. And I say, what's a joke? When you're providing water bottle, how you live on water bottle? So second portion of the presentation, you know about sound vision. We produce content, but we also do public relations. Anybody who knows Adams World here? So Adams World, well, at least few people know. People know about products very often. So Adams World, and we have 5,000 programs, and these programs went into about 10,000 libraries. CARE provided them. We have 2 million people over there and all of that. But what people don't know much about the public relation we do. Sorry about these fonts. When we transfer from Macintosh to PC, transfer caused some problems. We have Daily Radio Islam, Burma Task Force. Very few people know Burma Task Force is nothing but a small office inside Sound Vision. It's a coalition of national organization, but Sound Vision team, thinking team and implementing team is Sound Vision. Similarly, Bosnia Task Force, it was just small desk, half of this size in Sound Vision office. And there were one part-time person, one full-time person sitting there and 2 part-time person, and we joined forces. So we do a lot of public relation for the Muslim community, which is not much known. Some of the public relation campaign by Sound Vision, sorry, this was supposed to be Radio Islam, didn't get fixed. For example, and we do thoughtfully, so what is happening to Rohingya Muslim, a genocide, was not much known. So what we did was, first we did a conference in Harvard University, then we went to London School of Economics first, then to Harvard, then Yale. Then finally last year we took to Nobel Peace Institute in Oslo, where they give out Nobel Prizes, and we got 7 Nobel laureates to say it's a genocide. Before that, they don't want to hear that term. And how did we do that? Because these Nobel laureates have been on Radio Islam, which is run by Sound Vision. And thanks to a fundraiser which took place in Seattle and 2-3 other cities, when attack on Sharia came, these brochures, how Muslim Americans live Sharia, why Supreme Court in 1935 honored Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, one of the greatest lawgivers in the world, and how Jewish community implements their laws. They even have courts in almost every city. So to counter anti-Sharia campaign, these were the brochures which were used in 32 states. One of the major achievements of Muslims in America is getting rape declared a war crime. Of course, for Muslim it has been haram all the time. but rape was used as an instrument of war. And in international law, whether Geneva Convention 1, Geneva Convention 2, it was never considered a war crime. When Bosnia Task Force started, which I was chair, and it was a desk at Sound Vision team came up with this idea that we should get rape declared a war crime. And Masjid in Chicago collected about $30,000-$40,000, and that's how, for the first time, Muslims were able to conceive a law, present to the Congress, lobby, get it passed, went to United Nations, became international law. This was also an achievement at Sound Vision. So the time we live in are difficult. Terror, war, and Islamophobia is a cycle, and it continues to hurt. Islamophobia dehumanizes Muslim, allows them to be killed, and then allows victim to be blamed. This person killed 78 young Christians because their charge was they were soft on Islam in Oslo. And who he was referring to? People based in the United States. It is terrible tragedies going on. 2 million people have been killed according to Physicians for Social Responsibility. It's a Nobel Peace Prize organization. 25 million new refugees, 5 countries devastated, divide and rule, genocide in Burma and Central African Republic is going on. And it is hitting our income. Muslims are least employed according to Gallup. Wages of Muslims are down 10% according to Columbia University. 50% physicians report challenges of discrimination. London has replaced New York as the financial capital of the world, so America itself is hurting because of Islamophobia. 50% Arab Americans have clinical signs of depression according to Yale, and this came out in December. Muslim teens 660% increase in their textbook messages to crisis line about bullying, anxiety, and suicidal thoughts because of Islamophobia. And that's how it impacts our neighbors. Serious impact on youth. 7% of Muslim children are physically beaten up. 28% report being stopped by police, and 75% are discriminated against. Some try to hide culturally as a result. They withdraw from society, dress differently. 47% college-going young Muslims are into drinking, and others go on offensive, which is very, ridicule their parents' culture, parents' accent, parents' heritage, parents' faith. 33% say religion is not important for them, and some, like Ayan Hirsi Ali, eventually leave Islam. And others react violently, like these young people in Dallas and these young people in Boston who attacked. 400 or so young Muslims have been detained because they were trying to join ISIS. This person, just 2 weeks ago, his mom says he has mental illness, but he was found attacking a police officer, and the same weekend these 2 Muslims were arrested on terrorism charges. So Islamophobia is a challenge. So is Muslim youth disengagement and radicalization of young Muslim. So what is the answer? Now I'm getting into the third and the last phase. Should I cut it short, or can I continue the same pace? Are you okay? Am I losing some people? Okay, so let's move on. So Islamophobia and challenge of ISIS is big enough that you just cannot assign to one organization. All organizations and families need to think together. So Sound Vision went through about 40 or so thinking retreats of masajid and schools and national leadership and students and teachers. And we started thinking how to handle this, because Muslims get crisis all the time. Do you agree that Muslims get too many crises? That food was really good, wasn't it? Water even looks better. Okay, so how do corporations, so one question we ask ourselves, how do corporations handle bad news? They use a strategic communication team to do crisis management, damage control, and product improvement, product replacement, and perception issue. Three things: crisis management, damage control, and product improvement. Now, strategic communication is a discipline in the field of public relation and communication. Can Muslims apply this professional process for challenges we face? Our answer after talking to PR professional was yes, although Muslims are not a corporation, but these things are applicable. So that's where Sound Vision came up with the idea of a strategic communication center. And a strategic communication center will do many things, but four things mainly. Monitor and respond rapidly to manage crisis. We have all these specialized organization, but crisis management is no one's responsibility. Build louder voices against ISIS and Boko Haram's okay to kill ideology. Do for Islam proactively what Khan Academy has done for math and science. That is a master teacher, 5 to 7 minute lesson, and 1 point is conveyed. And it is through search engine optimization, it is brought up to first and the second page of Google. Is it halal to say word Google here? Or what is the other thing? Oh, Bing. Thank you. I even forgot what is this. Just Chicago person, you know. So it is halal, right? Makruh tahrimi? Okay. Okay, so do for Islam what Khan Academy has done for math and science, and it is important for our neighbors as well as our young Muslim, because 95% of them are not connected with any masjid or Islamic school. And then remember the strategic focus on young people, counseling, training, placement of young people in media, government, and entrepreneurial opportunity. We say young Muslim, not young Muslim, but all young people. These are our project advisors at this moment. You know probably some of them. Karen Armstrong, my friend, John Esposito, Tariq Ramadan, Christina Baker, and Umar Suleiman. It cannot be done despite we're focusing on crisis management, but we believe we cannot do the whole thing. So we need to work with public relations, scholar, professor, producers. And then for dissemination, we work with existing entities. And this thing amplify voices through networks. So communication, coalitions, and human relations. So we develop something here, and I'll give you an example. An existing entities and masajid and MSAs, and they're connected with peace movement, Black Lives Matter, interfaith, civil society, labor and Latino and all that, to project it to the media and the government. Apply this to a case study. Remember Ground Zero Mosque? Except it was neither on Ground Zero nor it was a mosque. But everybody, if you say anything, people will not recall. That's the marvelous, hateful construct. America will not care for another mosque. Manhattan, I have prayed in Manhattan for 30, 35 years. Nobody cares. But saying it on Ground Zero was the thing which got us. So you see no mosque on Ground Zero, no mosque on Ground Zero, no mosque on Ground Zero, and all of that. We have an excellent asset. Here was a crisis. To deal with the crisis, we have excellent assets. Mayor of the city, mayor of the largest city, a capitalist, Bloomberg, Jewish person, Republican, he was in favor of the project. He actually got it passed through the city council. It was neither a mosque nor on Ground Zero. So truth was on our side. Law and constitution was on our side. And Imam was in the good book of the State Department. So we had a crisis. We have the excellent asset to handle the crisis. Except there was nobody to manage the crisis. New York has 300 masjid. One national organization, ICNA, is headquartered there. CARE has a chapter. There are tens of millions of dollars worth of masajid. One masjid is, I think, around close to $30–40 million masjid. But there was nobody whose job and training is to manage crisis. So we had crisis, we have assets to win, but nothing happened because except a press conference. Muslim leadership met after 120 days. How do I know? Because they invited me. The losses are still being counted. Look at this. In the first 5 years after Ground Zero Mosque controversy, 100 attacks on masjid. And last year, 73 just for last year. And then they transferred it to anti-Sharia project, and then they took it 110 anti-Muslim bill in 32 states by David Yerushalmi, who is a lawyer for Pamela Geller. Pamela Geller is the one who started that Ground Zero Mosque controversy. And then this monster was born who wants to, just like Germany, ban Jews, register Jews, have special IDs for Jews, detain Jews. All of done was said and done. And now this person in this time and age, and Hitler never had more than 37, Hitler party never got more than 37% vote. This person has 36% support in America right now. How Muslim with a strategic communication center could have done, please forgive me, this is again cut off. Next time I will develop my slide in this way that if it need to be transferred to PC, God forbid, it will not distort everything which I have there. So these people, they started online first. So if we're monitoring it, we would have known not 120 days before, we would have year and a half advantage. They went from online to radio and cable, and this blue color is a media coverage. So they went public May 8th. That was the media coverage. June, July, August it shot up, and at the end of September, Muslim community went. So a thoughtful response, just forget about everything, just pay attention to all arrows are going, stop media calling it a Ground Zero Mosque. It was so much that Muslims were calling me and said, Brother Mujahid, what's wrong with Muslims? I said, what did I do, my brother? Why are you calling me? What was wrong with Muslims? He said, why do we have to build on ground zero? Why you can't build 4 or 5 blocks away? I said, brother, it is 4 or 5 blocks away. Give me a break here. But nobody was believing that. So a thoughtful response will be first to monitor. If you are monitoring and you have trained people, I thought these children in 5 minutes will calm down. They are having fun. MashaAllah. So if you are monitoring, we don't have a staff, but we already have capacity to monitor 2,000 US television and radio cable. If we were monitoring, we would have 1.5 year advantage. Some crises are monitorable, some crises are not. But then you team develops insight into it, what's about to come. So as soon as we hear, we contact the PR firm which is on retention, which we have not hired yet, and they talk to their friends in the media. Media and PR firm, they work with each other. Husband there, wife there, boyfriend, girlfriend, and buddies, and they play together and drink together in the golf course and whatnot. They would have softly said, it is not on ground zero, stop calling it on ground zero, and they would have succeeded. If not, they would have said, a mayor is saying that, really? Would you like mayor to be on your television show? Get mayor on this show. Constitutional lawyer, get Muslim women on this show, and through talking point. And then at the same time inform Muslims, CARE, ISNA, 3,000 masjid, through them interfaith partner, Latinos, black partners, coalition, communication, and all arrows going, stop calling it a ground zero mosque. Then you unleash all the social media. We have already developed 1 million strong social media, have talking point, all arrows are going, stop calling ground zero mosque. We think we had a crisis. We had excellent asset, but we did not have a crisis management team. Crisis management is a professional field which is taught in American universities in the Department of in the Department of Public Relations and Communication. With the use of those techniques, we believe and experts agree within 1 week we could have actually stopped the use of term ground zero mosque. And we would not have 175 attacks on mosque, would not have 110 campaigns against Muslims. This is just one example of the thing. So a strategic communication center could have done it. What we have done so far, We have provided talking points to the community after Paris attack, San Bernardino attack, Dallas attack. A tenured professor who used to be chair of public relations department, he has quit his job. Actually, he was professor of 70 other professors. He was chairman of the department. And he trains public relation professional in refresher course about training. So he has quit his job and joined us to lead that project. We have retained the services of media monitoring system, developed some relationship there, and we have developed 200 tip-oriented articles for masjid and parents, MSAs and interfaith, and these are the brochures which we have developed for Muslim can share with non-Muslim neighbors and friends, and your masjid can order as many as they like. And we have educated in last 5 years 10,000, I would say about 12,000 people on the connection of war, hate and Islamophobia, and they are now becoming instrument throughout the country in fighting against that. These are our project advisor. I'll conclude by saying, will Islamophobia continue? What do you think? Raise your hand if you think it will continue. Well, half of you are optimistic, half of you think it will continue. Unfortunately, we believe it will. Why? Because Islamophobia is organized, well-funded machine, and they have no counter. Islamophobia has a war room. There is nobody out there to deal with them. Muslims are just reacting whenever something happens, giving a statement. We condemn terrorism. I did that yesterday. Leave me alone. It's not going to work like that. So we don't have any thinking group to manage crisis, and that's what we are trying to develop. If war and terrorism will continue, it requires demonization, meaning Islamophobia. As in 2043, minorities are projected to be majority. This is driving a lot of fear and hate and anger, and Muslims are low level of civic engagement. That is also causing an economic blue. China is coming up and whatnot. So benefit of proper organizing, proper crisis management means less Islamophobia and better future for our children. American Muslim will be empowered with new allies in the society, coalition building, Muslim capacity to influence US domestic policies and foreign policies will be enhanced, reduced capacity of Islamophobes to influence mainstream. But if we do not organize properly for crisis management, practice of Islam will be criminalized. A law is already written. Indefinite preventive detention law is already signed into law. It might be implemented. There will be serious consequences for our jobs and our children's future. Muslim will continue to suffer without a voice on public policy tables, and more Muslim will leave Islam because of that pressure. So one of the things I'm requesting your community and board members here to consider is, first thing, those of you who like to know more about it, please sign up. There are sign-up sheets available. We'll keep you informed. My request to your masjid is that if Islamophobe is $160 million machine, and of course several $100 million media machine, Muslim need to pay attention to. So my request to your masjid and those board members is consider inviting Sound Vision again, and maybe organizing a city-wise fundraiser and fundraising during other occasion. So those of you who like to learn more about, want to stay in touch with Sound Vision, you can sign up and we can share that with you. Thank you so much. I hope I haven't bored you to death here. Assalamu alaikum.
We will take a few questions. So, can you have a question to stand up and raise your hands, having your mic? Can you speak out?
Thank you so much for the wonderful presentation. I guess one for now is if anyone has done any response to ISIS as far as they are using the media, the internet, has anyone prepared responses to that, and what they are saying and how they are recruiting the youth? Is there any effort in that direction at all?
Unfortunately not. That's why we started. I mean, Muslims are assuming we are against ISIS. Everybody is. So, but assumption doesn't do, because our neighbors doesn't know what our assumptions are. So we actually, all these 6 brochures which you saw, they are produced in last 2 months, because we decided nobody else is doing it. So we have been writing online for more than a year and a half. But we realized that online goes to people who are active online. Most of our neighbors who are worried and all that, when they meet Muslim, they need something tangible, something which we can hand deliver. So we have printed each of these things 10,000 in quantity, but we consider that to be a test print. Our idea is once we have enough feedback, then we will revise those, and then we will send it out to, we intend to print about 50 copies for 3,000 masjid and mail it to them. That's quite a bit of budget. So we intend to do that, and now we are developing short videos also on that. We're also developing a manual for youth engagement that they should be capable of handling. Not that our youth going to join ISIS. Muslim by and large are more peaceful than our neighbors. I have written this article 5-6 years ago on Huffington Post, and since then I have more evidence, and I may rewrite that article. But there are going to be some people who will be upset. So one of the strategy Muslim community need to adopt is that we should not just condemn terrorism, we should condemn terrorism, war, and Islamophobia. Young people who are angry, they are upset at adults and imams that they never condemn war. They keep condemning terrorism, but war and terrorism are connected. This is one thing. Second thing, youth engagement overall need to increase. So they realize they have a say and people are listening to them, they're part of it, so they can share. Third thing, we need to have counter narrative, and that's where we are developing counter narrative. But all masjid need to double, and I was happy to hear that your masjid is looking for youth director. That's a challenge, but there's a whole lot need to be done. You can just speak up, or I can speak up, just like that.
In general, we're working very good. What about using external help from Muslim organizations like the National Muslim Council, or the National Muslim Council? We can tell them that we can use economic terms or trade against the United States unless they treat Muslim America treat them well. Have you guys tried to use any international ties, even non-Muslims, like United Nations, for example?
Our focus is in the United States, although our material goes overseas also. There is important to understand what Muslim countries are going through, and that's why we have an article which is just focuses understanding the Muslim world. The Muslims are worried. So Muslims say Muslim world is in turmoil, and some Muslims say, oh, we are American Muslim, we have nothing to do with them. Good luck with that, because America will keep bringing the news of the Muslim world to you. So you better know what is going on. So there is a particular perspective. I personally don't consider Ummah as in turmoil. I consider Ummah as in a struggle. And that struggle is for freedom, democracy, and Islam. That's what Arab Spring was about. It succeeded in Tunis and Morocco. It did not succeed in Syria and Egypt. But whatever your take is, Muslim world were under slavery of Western Europe for 400 years. In last 150 years, they were struggling for freedom. They got freedom about 60 years ago. But now, since 60 years, there is something called new colonialism, in which we are part and parcel of the international instruments and all that. So Muslim community in North America need to understand what is happening there and have an opinion about it, and say what is happening is terrible. The struggle for freedom, democracy, and Islam should not result in so many people getting killed and the sectarian warfare and all that. So we should condemn ISIS, but need to understand overall phenomena which is taking place there. So we have developed a booklet about it. Based on that understanding, I don't think it will be wise enough for us to You mean OIC, probably, Organization of Islamic Conference. That's what probably you meant. They're organization in development. For example, I would not say in which country. I met one of their ambassadors, and he was asking my advice, what can he do? So instead of laughing at it, I seriously gave him some advice that what they could do. So I think thought deficit is the real deficit. If we get our act together in America, inshallah we'll be able to help our country liberate it from fear, hate and anger, and hopefully we'll be able to help Muslim Ummah as well in some ways. Yes, somebody need to keep looking. Yes.
Thank you for the presentation. You talked about Islamophobia machine, could you develop a little bit on that? That exists and how to. And also, I think that the Jewish organization was 60 years ago or something, was probably in very bad shape, but they had some methods that they used. Could you develop on that and how to use those methods?
Sure. The two very good questions were asked. First question is about describe a little bit about Islamophobia machine. Second is Jews probably 60 years ago faced the similar challenges and how did they handle it. These are your questions? Okay. Interesting enough, both were part of my presentation. To make it short, I cut it out before I came here. So first thing is Islamophobia machine. I have about 5 slides. There are 160. It's a small group, but well networked and very big thinking group. They coin these things. They have PhDs. They develop their literature. Then they go public with their strategies. Then they have religious leaders, mostly Christian. Then they have media, which include Fox and all types. So this is a good machine. Maybe some other time I can give a presentation on that. Jewish community, exactly in 1938, when I was researching this particular project, in 1938, first survey was done about what people think of different religion. And Jewish community has 60% disapproval rating, exactly the one which we have right now, in 1938. But now, only 7% people have negative opinion of Jews, because they work in 2 areas. Communication and civic engagement. They were so weak that during the Holocaust period, a whole ship came to America of Jewish children. America refused to allow those children to land in America. They went back and half of them were killed in concentration camps. That weak was the Jewish community in 1940s. Gradually it will happen. But important is we start taking small step now. So they were thinking people, thoughtful, and my invitation is Allah gave us Quran and Sunnah in our brain. Reason I emphasize that point is thought deficit is the real deficit in our community. We have money, we have very smart people, but thought deficit is the real deficit. So we need to think. So this strategic communication is a sort of a thinking group, not think tank, which requires hundreds of millions of dollars, but smart thinking people who are monitoring and dedicated how to develop strategies and share. I'll give you an example. Flint, Michigan is facing water crisis. For last several weeks, we have been working on it silently. Nobody knows we're working on it. Now it has come to the level that yesterday in the plane I wrote about 20 letters to top leaders in this country who are in my relationship and friendship, non-Muslim, most of them. And I invited them for a national conference call, which will be addressed by people from Flint, Michigan, to bring this to another higher level with very clear 3 demands. Why we are doing that? Because it's an issue which is important issue. By engaging Muslim will develop relationship, but it's a humanitarian issue. At the same time, this is mostly African American involved. African American is a large minority. They will see what Muslims are doing and will develop ties and friendship. You see, so you say strategic thinking and putting in practice with the help of all the assets which we have, so we increase. So as I was saying, proper organizing means more allies in the society, more people who will stand up for us. Muslims so far have given good importance to interfaith, but not coalition with Latinos or coalition with African Americans or coalition with the labor movement or coalition with peace and justice movement, which are mostly white folks in the society. So this process of engagement, Jewish people engage. For example, 60 years ago, the dialogue resulted with the Catholics. The Catholics said Jews didn't kill Jesus. Well, of course, we don't believe Jesus was killed, but Catholics used to blame that Jews killed their God. It's a major charge, right? But they were able to negotiate out of it. That's the power of dialogue. Muslims are engaged in interfaith, but they have no goal. They have no goal. They're just, being nice, eating biryani or hummus or whatever it is. It's good to have that relationship, but there need to be a thoughtful strategy, what you want to achieve from a relationship, and then you take it forward. But Muslims do have a strength. I became the chair of the Parliament of the World's Religion, and I was able to bring a lot of this concept and ideas to the mainstream with the help of that. So relationship with thoughtful agenda can help. My answers are too long here? Sometimes I do that, especially when food is good and water is also good. Any other questions? Yes.
I've got a question, but I've got a view and I want your counter view to it. When you think about the time when Jews were migrating into states or the country, we never heard the kind of incident that happened in Germany when Muslim immigrants went into that country. Is there something cultural which kind of blocks us in going in a positive direction or counters the efforts that we are doing here? If you know what, are you following my...
You're referring to that incident at night, about 1,000 people?
It's not only one, there were multiple incidents in Germany across.
Yeah.
At some places they were disallowed from entering the swimming pool because they have to go through training. Same thing happened in Canada as well.
Yeah.
But when Jews migrated, we never heard about those incidents.
Yeah.
Cultural.
You see, first thing I like you to be really thoughtful, because anything is taken and exaggerated by the Islamophobic media. Like all Mexicans are rapists, all immigrants are criminals, while the data in America proves immigrants commit the least crimes. But the image was presented that immigrants commit crimes by and large. So what is coming out of the news and all that, there are a lot of good people in Germany who are trying to refute many of those charges. Some will be factual. They are not the angels for migrating. They are coming through a trauma. There may be people who don't know how to handle. There may be people who don't know the language even to handle. So all possibilities are there, but you're talking about Jews coming as a slave, few at a time, and serving and changing their identity completely and hiding a whole lot of things. That's a very different phenomena as compared to a million people moving from a traumatic situation to another one.
Isn't that what happened during Second World War? They were going through trauma and they were also migrating in mass. So I think
where were they migrating to? To Israel?
To America.
Yeah. You don't know what happened in Israel, do you? They were terrorist organization blasting off Palestinian houses, burning them to death. You have no idea of what happened there.
That's not during Second World War.
Brother, I think we need to just leave your opinion, my opinion right here. We don't agree on many of these issues. You need to understand the history of this country. You know Native Americans. What happened to them, you have some idea about it. Let's settle with that. So don't go in psychoanalysis of the Muslim community if you don't know the history of the world. What happened to native people, what happened to Africans, what happened to when colonial power were controlling these countries. You know, you need to read my memo about what happened to Central African Republic, because it just happened last year. Thank God to Samantha Power. After 1 year, she opened her mouth and she says all the mosques in Central African Republic have been destroyed. That's the only country where it has happened. All the mosques have been destroyed. She used the word almost because there are few surviving. What happened in Central African Republic? How many of you know what happened in Central African Republic? Because media will never tell you. Here's what I found out after spending $25,000. And that's why you guys need to do some good fundraising so we continue to do this work. I got a person who knows the language. And I got a journalist from Chicago Tribune with 25 years experience. I sent them over there. They interviewed about 45 people, documented the whole evidence from them. What we found out was that once French left Central African Republic and it became independent, so colonialism over, they installed some stooges who were blacks but were serving the French purposes. For the first time, an independent government came into being, which happened to be a mixed government in which Muslims and Christians were involved. And their president was half Muslim. I mean, either father or mother was a Muslim. His name is a Christian name, and he have gone to mosque, they say, a couple of times. French gave a resolution in United Nations. And they said that Muslims have taken over the country and Christians are being slaughtered. Without any investigation, United Nations gave a right to French to go in that country, restore law and order. What did they do? They took 350 French soldiers, 350, and landed in Central African Republic. Now, how large is Central African Republic? It is as large as France. 350 soldiers. And what 350 soldiers were doing? They were going to the houses of Muslims, whatever gun and knife they might have, they will take it. Before they leave the house, Christian militia will come in, they will start killing men and get women and children and goats and animals. That's the one phrase they use. They will take them away. So Muslims started running away from that area. I say, why French is doing that? Here's the two things I discovered. Number one, French electricity is 75% come from nuclear power. And their uranium come from Central African Republic, which one firm controls, and that firm happened to be a French firm. Second, France controls 25% of freshwater market in Europe. All this bottle we drink, 25% French control. Central African Republic has underground reservoir of fresh water, which is 10 times more than the Great Lakes. It took me a while to understand what happened. And last time I spoke to the Imam of Bangui. Bangui is their capital city. And he said, what is the one thing which you want Muslim in America to do? He says, get the French out of here. And then he described to me what happens. He said, I have only in the whole city where there were about 300,000 Muslim and 75 mosques. He said, only one mosque is because I refuse to leave. There are 900 Muslim and I leave about 8 to 10 Muslim every day. So brother, what I described to you is the whole colonialism and new colonialism and how these people operate. In that view, you need to be a little more charitable towards Muslims because our story is not known.
My opinion, I wanted to hear yours.
Okay. Yeah, but we do have problems of our own. I mean, Shia-Sunni division existed. But in Iraq, 30% Shia and Sunni were married to each other. Until the Rand Corporation, which is I think based somewhere here, they started, which is 80% funded by Pentagon, they started researching that how America should extract itself from out of Iraq. They say, well, arm and fund, what is it called, Shias and Sunnis both. So now they Divisions existed, but they increased that. Result was Shia government did everything to Sunnis, which now Sunnis as ISIS is doing back to Shias and everybody else. It says that revenge politics. It is started with that thought of Rand Corporation, but we are responsible for allowing people to play with us. So we have a role, and we are not void of any blame. But I'd like you to be slightly more charitable.
Thank you so much, Imam Malik Mujahid. So just on conclusion, tomorrow Imam Malik Mujahid will also address us after Fajr. So after Fajr it will be at 6:45, and the topic for tomorrow will be slightly different. It will be planning for success in this world and hereafter. So we will close. We've kind of run out a bit of time. Thank you so much for coming. We have a few more very good programs coming up. Just check the MAP's website and check the newsletter. We will have Abdul Nasser Janga, I believe, coming next week. And then we have Imam Abdul Malik in February, who will kick out our Black History Month. We have a couple of other programs that we're planning for Black History, so keep checking the emails, inshallah. Jazakumullah khair. Assalamu alaikum.